Welcome, everybody, to FanStream Sports, powered by DSP Media. This is the Fighting Irish Daily Blitz, and I'm your host, Rob Fidoff, also known as RPT. You can find me on X, at PFidoff. Anyway, this will be the men's recap for the month of March, and then also what we did in the ACC tournament. So more or less a recap for the year. I will have another show probably a month or two down the road just to see where we are as a program right now, more of an overall recap for this team, as you got to think, I hope the majority of this team is back for next year for the underclassmen. But with this day and age of the transfer portal, you got to think some kids will enter the transfer portal to be determined. Then also other kids will probably enter the Notre Dame program coming from other schools to enter the transfer portal coming into Notre Dame. So as I mentioned before, to be determined on that subject there. But I want to go over for the month of March and then what we did in the ACC tourney. So for the month of March, as we do a recap for the month of March and the ACC tourney, on March the 2nd, at home against Clemson. I always like to give you the final score, but then also I'll go over the turnovers and free throw percentage at the end, because to me, those are the two big things. Wins and losses, you can control those two aspects for the most part. So against Clemson at home, to me, this is the best game that Notre Dame has played this year as a program. Wins 69-62 and only 7 turnovers. Just a great game at home. I believe at the time we had won 5 out of 7 then, but then we went from probably our best game of the season to one of our worst. But take this game with a little bit of a grain of salt. On March the 5th at North Carolina, the ACC regular season champions, playing against former teammate Cormac Ryan, who is a Notre Dame graduate, but after last year's with Mike Bray leaving and pretty much starting from scratch, I do not blame him for transferring to North Carolina to play for a national championship caliber team. They're playing their best ball right now. It's senior night. We're coming off a big win on Saturday, and I think this game was on Wednesday. It was either Tuesday or Wednesday, so somewhat of a short turnaround. Maybe we had some dead legs. Maybe we over-celebrated and think we're better than what we are. We end up losing this game 84-51 by 33 points, had 12 turnovers. Wasn't the best game we played, but as I said before, take into those variables. It's senior night for North Carolina. Cormac Ryan, I think he still loves Notre Dame. Probably wanted to play pretty good against his former team, even though 98% of that team is gone from when he played last year. And North Carolina, they're the ACC regular season champs right now, and they're playing their best ball right now. So I think just some various a multiple of variables in that for that game. But at the same time, you still don't want to get blown out by 33 points. And then March 9th, we close out the regular season against Virginia Tech, have 10 turnovers, lose 82-76. But actually that game came down to one final shot where we could have tied the game. But we don't. They end up sealing the deal at the free throw line. But to me, the biggest thing with this game was rebounding. We were awful rebounding. We got out-rebounded 39-28. On the offensive side, got out-rebounded 15-5 by Virginia Tech, who's a decent ACC team, but we actually beat them earlier in the season. But if we rebound well, we should have won this game probably by 6 points, which is what Virginia Tech won during that game. So entering the ACC tournament early this week, I couldn't watch these games live, so I had to watch it on the replay because I worked during the day, and these games are played during the afternoon. At least Notre Dame's games were. We played Virginia Tech the first game, and earlier this season we played Georgia Tech. That is, I think I said Virginia Tech. No, we played Georgia Tech during this game, and we had played them twice during the regular season. And we beat them twice. It's tough enough to beat a team once, if not twice, but to beat them 3 times in the season, really tough. We end up doing that, though, which is a great sign. I know that they're not the greatest team, but to beat a team 3 times in a season is pretty good, especially for a young team like this that started from scratch. I always said that during the year. They've started from scratch. So we won 84-80. However, we were up by 17 points in the second half. Marcus Burton gets in foul trouble, and Georgia Tech goes on a run. They end up taking the lead by 1, but we ended up pulling it out at the end, 84-80, which is a good sign too, because there was about 4 to 5 games earlier in the season where we just, as a young team, we had a lead. We blew that lead, just couldn't finish it off in the last 2 to 5 minutes. But this game, we sealed the deal. And another thing, even though Marcus Burton was in foul trouble, he had 21 points, but he had a pretty good supporting cast that day too. Tay Davis had 12 points. Braden Shrewsbury shot five 3-pointers, or hit 5 3-pointers, or made, let me just say, made 5 3-pointers, 23 points. Keba Jai, he's not the greatest scorer, more of a rebounder, just a blue collar type player, does the dirty work. Was 9 of 10 from the free throw line, which is great, but also had 11 points. What else here? I just want to make sure. Yeah. So he had a supporting cast that day, but then the next day, again, I couldn't watch this game live, watched just parts of it on replay last night. Played Wake Forest, who's one of the top teams in the ACC. Beat them earlier in the season at home when we were on that winning streak, but lost 72-59. But I don't know if it was just dead legs. But we just couldn't shoot the ball at all. We were 28% from the for field goal percent, 2-point field goal percentage. From 3-point range, we were only 26%, and ended up losing that game 72-59 to end our season for the 2023-2024 season. But during that those March games and the ACC tournament play, we shot the free throws pretty decent. Not so much early on in March, but to end March, we ended up shooting the free throws. Our free throw percentage was 78%. So as a team this year in the ACC play, finished 7-13. That tied with Georgia Tech for 12th out of 15 teams in the ACC. You think that's not that good? But a lot of teams thought Notre Dame wouldn't win one game in the ACC this year. It would be that bad. No, they won 7. And to me, that's pretty damn good. And then also we finished the regular season 13-20. I told you before, if we won 10 games, this team would be on schedule, but they won 13 games. And if you take some of those games early in the season that they should have won, coulda, shoulda, woulda, probably could have won 16-17. So this team really did some really good things. So talking point number 2, this team overachieved to me big time with the 13 wins. Marcus Burton, some great accolades as well. ACC Freshman of the Year. To me, I think he should be up for National Freshman of the Year as well. He's that good. I told you before, I don't want to talk the women's game in detail right now, but I thought we had 2 of the top freshmen in the men's game, Marcus Burton, in the women's game, Hannah Hidalgo. She was also the Freshman of the Year for the women's game in the ACC as well. Also Defensive Player of the Year. So boil it down, Notre Dame had 2 of the best freshmen, men and women's, not just in the ACC, but nationally as well. So where do we go here for 2024, 2025? I got to think too, let's see how the portal goes, how many players we lose, how many players we gain. But for the portal gaining wise, I know we have 3 decent recruits coming in, and one of them is a center. I really think Coach Shrewsbury has to look at a center in the portal because that's what Keba Jai to me is a power forward. He doesn't have really a center presence. So we really have a poor inside game right now. They play really good defense, but offensively, that's where we're really lacking. I know Keba plays some decent defense, and we do as best we can defensively inside, but we really have to get that offensive presence inside to lighten up the burden for Marcus Burton, and then even for Braden Shrewsbury, who's a really good 3-point shooter. Tay Davis, small forward. We really got to get that inside game going, especially offensively for 2024, 2025. Because to me, I think a lot of people say, well, at least NIT next year. No, I think we can make a run for the March Madness tournament, and not just a low seed, but a decent seed, maybe a seed anywhere from 6 to 10. Maybe that's wishful thinking for right now, but I think it's really going to depend on how the 3 freshmen develop, the young players develop, obviously, that played this year. But I really think we got to get a portal guy for a center, that is, or just a really strong power forward that can not just be a decent defender like Keba Jai, because Keba Jai, I don't know how much he's going to improve offensively, but we cannot have what just Keba Jai did this year for offense inside presence. It's got to be a lot better next year. We need an inside presence where a center's getting at least 10 to 12 points a game, if not, actually take that back, about I'd say about anywhere from 12 to 15 points a game. Again, that may be wishful thinking, but we can't have everything just going through Marcus Burton and then relying on Braden Shrewsbury to hit 3-point shots, and then Tay Davis, and then Jericho Nesny. He was a person this year. I'm hoping he stays, but I know he got hurt late in the season, but he was the second leading scorer for most of the season. Then he kind of fell off the radar. He was only getting about maybe 7 to 10 minutes a game and not scoring as well. So I'm hoping he's back. I know he struggled with injuries last year, but to me, I can't say enough. The inside game has to be the big improvement next year. You want to see improvement all around. Don't get me wrong. I want Marcus Burton to be even better than what he was. I mean, that was a hell of a freshman season he had. And if he just consistently improves and he stays at least 3 or 4 years before he makes a jump to the NBA or just international professional game is what I'm trying to say, he's going to be scary good. But these teams got to get the weight room a little bit. Little skinny this year, gain about anywhere from 5, 10, 15 pounds of muscle. And this team's going to be really good. But I can't say enough. Inside game is really what we need to see for this team going forward. So thank you so much for joining me for episode 131. To me, this was a hell of a year for Notre Dame as a rebuilding season. 13-20 may not seem great. 7-13 in the ACC may not seem great, but to me, that was over. They were overachievers this year, and then watch out in the next 2 to 3 years as they make that gradual progression for each year, and then get some kids, the recruits in, and then some portal kids as well. And the sky's the limit for this program right now. It was a very exciting. It was a great season to watch. Like I said in a previous podcast, I'm going to miss watching this team develop for the current year, but then for the next year, obviously we'll see them develop even more. So thank you so much for joining me for episode 131. And as always, go Irish.